My name is Sasuke Uchiha, and I don't like a lot of things. But one of those things is not unboxings. I love unboxings. And so do I. Yuri Lowenthal, the English voice for Sasuke here. I am clearly a collector. Thank you for coming to BAM Collectibles today. The statue, the Sasuke statue you're going to see unboxed today is mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing with a capital Susanoo. So, thank you for coming to BAM Collectibles today, and enjoy the unboxing.
Thank you so much, Yuri. I cannot think of a better way to kick this unboxing off than with you opening. Well, hey again, everybody. This is Bam back for another statue unboxing review for you. And boy, do we have a banger today. This is none other than DT Studios' Sasuke. Some companies make boring, uninspired bases, but not DT. Flipping this over, we're going to see a few things. First off, there is Sasuke with his back turned to us in the silhouette. We have the moon symbol there, which represents the yin that the Sage of Six Paths gave, and there's only 300 of these made in the world, mine being 110. On the top, you'll see several different holes, which will later be used to key in certain effect pieces in those little notches and grooves. And then we also have what seems to be a black shroud with some rubble on the bottom there. It doesn't look like Amaterasu flames at all from what I can see, but just more of a shroud with what's being represented on the top portion of the statue. Now, on the bottom of the base is my favorite part about their statues. They have these different key pivotal moments and scenes etched into rock. It's so cool that they captured all these because they all have such a pivotal meaning in Sasuke's journey in the show as he grew and developed. Man, going from this picture right here to the next one, such an emotional journey that he went through with his brother. Great job though, again, this will always be one of my favorite aspects of their statues. In comes the literal backbone of this statue, the skeletal version of Sasuke's Susanoo. As always, I'm going to blanket this video by saying you can call it Susanoo or Susanoo. I don't care. It's all the same thing to me. Taking a look at it, you'll find that there's a steel rod that goes through all of the spine of the statue. You can see it here and you saw on the bottom. And that helps to brace the statue so it doesn't bend or curve over time. There's also some magnets there in the chest that will later hold some ribcage bones. Just like in the show, you'll find on certain joints of the body, it looks like screws are holding things together. I think, if I remember right, I think this was the only version that showcased something like that, but very interesting and accurate. They did a great job with this. Looking at the eyes, I swear they stare into your soul with that bright, yellow, vibrant paint that was applied on there, with also that black outline that brings it out even more. On the top, these pieces were sculpted separately, and they do attach with these small little magnets. Flipping him around back, we will see there's a lot of muscle texturing that went on here, as if it's beginning to kind of phase into that humanoid version of the Susanoo. This has to be one of my favorite versions because it really showcases the state of mind that Sasuke was in when he attacked at the 5 Kage Summit. If I recall, this is the very first time that he does summon or activate his Susanoo, and man, was it an epic moment. Really incredible how they intentionally sculpted this to look like it's just beginning to form around Sasuke. Multiple chakra effect pieces were sculpted separately that do attach with these magnets and little notches. They go into those many different grooves that we saw on the first overview of the top part of the base. You can tell with this piece right here specifically that all these pieces were casted in clear resin and then painted with little shades of purple all throughout. Now those are the more lighter looking ones. Here we have a larger piece of chakra that is definitely with a darker shade of purple. For those of you watching this video a few days after it's released, this will be my last video before I upload my 100K special statue showcase video, which I cannot wait to do. So be sure to, if you can, support this video, like, share, and then I look forward to on 100K releasing this special unboxing for you. 5 different rib cage bones were sculpted here, and you can see that it goes from this smooth texturing over here more to the rough bone-like looking, and then you have those chakra flames that are coming all throughout it. These look incredible. They do attach with this magnet, and then also at the end it gets a little bit more narrow so that it slides right into that spinal cord. Here's a picture of the left side bones, which you can see stagger from large to small. To see how these are all installed, I do want to look at this from a different angle. As I said, the two ways that it will mount to the statue is with the narrow part of the bone sliding into the spinal cord, as well as the magnet. So two ways to reinforce how these are floating in the air. It looks seamless as they all get installed. As if having the skeletal Susanoo around him isn't cool enough, but actually sculpting these unique ribcage bones to showcase as if they're protecting him is that much cooler. I know there might be some out there that may be thinking, man, I wish they would have sculpted the full body or the arms on this, but I can appreciate the fact that it doesn't take up as much space, but it still does capture the epic, angry, evil looking version of the Susanoo. Now, there was at least one hand that was sculpted separately. This is extremely brittle and fragile. It came with a lot of different foam pieces to protect the fingers from rubbing up against each other or having pressure cause it to break. But you can see also this was casted much more clear than everything else. Light shades of paint were on there. Now there is a more deeper looking purple as we get closer to the fingertips of it though. The notch and magnet that you see on the right side is how it's going to attach itself to the right side of the base. Now, with all the Susanoo parts in place, let's talk about the LEDs on this statue. There are none. So I'm going to be custom installing some myself. Now, the way in which I do it is not going to be pretty, but the ends justify the means, and you'll see what I mean as I get them installed and you see how this actually lights up. This is the LED strips I'll be doing. I did a video recently, which I'll link here, that you could check out if you want to learn the process in which I customize these. But first, I'm going to take this strip out, and it comes with a silicone protective layer on there. I'm going to strip that off first because this makes it to where I can manipulate and move the lights a lot easier. They're more rigid with this film on there. This process is pretty tedious, and I do need a long strip, so I'm going to skip most of that. Now, this next part is actually going to be in a ×6, so we can skip through this pretty quickly. But all I'm going to be doing is having these face the front part of the statue, and then also apply a small layer of tape on there to hold them into place. Now, the tape doesn't damage the statue over time. It holds it in place. That's really my only way of getting these to mount to the actual statue without it damaging it in any way, because I don't want to use more magnets or any glue of some sort. The tape just comes right off. If for some reason it leaves a little bit of sticky residue, I can always use that Goo Gone, but I've never had that happen so far with any statues I've done this for. And here you can see with your two eyes, you cannot even tell that the wire is even there from the front view of the statue, which is the view you're going to be looking at this from. So let's turn the lights off and take a look. All right, so there we have it. And firstly, I'll admit these are extremely bright because the resin is not very thick. So I'm going to use the app to control the brightness on these LEDs. Please comment below to vote on what your favorite effect is. This is setting number 8, and we'll go over the rest of the settings as we go. Something else to mention as well, you can control the speed of the effect itself. You'll see how I'll speed it up real fast and then we'll slow it down. That really changes the characteristic of how it looks when it's shining through. And here's the last effect, which is more of a throbbing, pulsating. I really do need your help because I really can't decide. I mean, they're all pretty good. None of them are bad, but man, so many choices. And to put the cherry on the icing of this cake, we have Sasuke's sculpt in a very dynamic pose. He is armless and headless at first because those were sculpted separately, which we will review and install coming up. Man, the outfit just comes together so perfectly. The shading on the back of that is on point. The Uchiha clan symbol is up top there. Looks great. This part of the rope that's poking out a little bit more than the rest of the outfit, that's on via a steel rod that just sticks inside there. That was sculpted separately, so very smart because that could easily break during the shipment process. To get Sasuke in just right, you do have to wiggle it a little bit to get that specific rod to go into the hole there. But next up, we have the arm that's holding the sword. The sword was sculpted separately, and you can remove it. I won't, though, because once I stuck it inside of the hand, it did go in there pretty tight, so it's tough to get out. Don't want to waste my time with it. But the metallic paint that was used for the sword, it looks fantastic. Look at that. Look at the light shines right off of it. I'm really digging how, when installed, it actually goes through 2 of these ribcage bones, so that looks awesome how that's sticking out there. The other hand is holding none other than a Chidori, and this was sculpted amazingly. I love how dynamic this looks. You know, it's like, how good can you get with this statue? You have a skeletal Susanoo over here. He's surrounded by his ribcage. We have his sword in his other hand, a Chidori in his other, and wait till we get to the face. My goodness. I will mention that this piece did come broken off when it arrives. Again, stuff like this happens. You know, when I hold this Chidori up next to it, you're not even going to be able to find, you know, where this broke off of. In fact, it took me a moment to look for it for myself, but I'll point it out here. This is where it did snap off of. And for this instance, it's actually not worth gluing in my opinion because the Chidori looks good on itself. So I'll just set that aside and back in the box. And last up for Sasuke, we have two different head sculpts that they included. Very awesome. We have one here that does not have that Rinnegan awakened yet. So we have two of the Sharingans, which looks awesome. His hair sculpting is just perfect. It's a little bit of a flowing because he is in a dynamic pose. The muscle definition looks great on the little bit of the chest that we can see. The second head is a carbon copy of the first, the only difference being that Rinnegan in the left eye. This is probably going to be my preferred head sculpt of choice, though, that I'm going to go with for my final display. My gosh, does that look glorious or what? So incredible. I'm loving the LEDs behind it. And lastly, it came with a nameplate or an edition size where, oh, now this one, they made a big oops, right? So if you look here, it says Uzumaki Naruto, and then this is Sasuke's nameplate. So the statue that came before this one was Sage Mode Naruto, and for some reason, they messed up. They accidentally put or left on the Naruto name. So they shipped out some replacements to others that have the correct name on there that hopefully I'll be getting in the near future. It went to my reseller's warehouse. Looking forward to get that revision so I can proudly display that next to the statue. Now in comes Sage Mode Naruto by the same studio, so you can see how they look side by side. Very bright, vibrant LEDs, especially on that Rasen Shuriken, so I'm glad I put some into Sasuke so they kind of match and go alongside even better. But that about wraps up today's showcase. Thank you again, Yuri, for the introduction in this video. It's amazing to pay some respect to the original English voice actor. I do want to encourage you to hit the subscribe button if you are enjoying my content and do enjoy statue unboxings. And as always, everybody, I will see you in the next video. Do what you love and love what you do. Bam out.